everybody, I'm Hollywood tastemaker Griffin McElroy for Polygon.com, and these are my top 5 favorite video games of 2017. I don't know about you, but I sure had a hard time paring down my list this year, because 2017 was a good year for video games, and a dog shit year for literally everything else. My number 5 game of the year is Destiny 2, which I almost feel like I need to say in hushed, cautious tones given the sort of brutal nature of Destiny 2 discourse right now, which, yeah, I can totally understand why the game's most hardcore players are upset. There's a serious lack of meaningful reasons to get stuck into in-game content right now, and the underwhelming Curse of Osiris DLC doesn't really fix that. That criticism and other outrage over Bungie's handling of the Eververse economy is totally fair. I don't play that much Destiny 2, not as much as I used to, and at this point I feel like it's going to take some huge course correction to reel me back in. But the 200 or so hours I spent playing vanilla Destiny 2 this year were pretty amazing. This is still the best feeling shooter franchise in existence. It's fast and satisfying, and weaving together rampages with your various weapons and super enhanced abilities is just really fun. The game's first raid does take some getting used to, but it delivers some really unforgettable moments, including a neon-hued obstacle course game show that was fun all 100 times I played it. It's also just a phenomenal social experience. Teaming up with players and coordinating builds and strategies to take down high difficulty content is really enjoyable, but so is just exploring the game's public spaces, grinding out events for loot, giving you a more relaxed environment to just hang out and shoot some aliens. Number 4 on my list is Persona 5, and to be honest, it's kind of bittersweet that it doesn't clock in higher. I don't think I've ever anticipated a video game quite as much as I anticipated this, the follow-up to Persona 4, which is my favorite video game of all time. The fact of the matter is that there were some issues with Persona 5 that made it fall short of my admittedly unattainable expectations. The translation was kind of clunky, leading to dialogue and characterization that fell a bit flat sometimes. And the plot kind of goes off the rails in the final act of the game. It abandons all this work they put into putting together this really solid narrative about youthful rebellion against exploitation by shitty adults. But though it didn't quite meet my hopes and dreams for the next Persona game, it's still a phenomenal RPG. The story and characters didn't necessarily click with me as well as Persona 4's, but by nearly every other metric, it's just way more fun to play. Combat is deep and exciting, with the series' staple mechanic of demon negotiations making a triumphant return. The game's palaces are really fun, way more fun to explore than the randomized dungeons of past Persona titles. And it still does all that great day-to-day life sim stuff that Persona is known for, giving you a free rein to explore a hip, stylish interpretation of Tokyo. That is, unless your cat makes you go to sleep again while the sun is still up. Number 3 goes to Super Mario Odyssey, the first of 2 Switch titles that I assume are going to land on virtually everybody's top 5, which, can we just take a second to address the fact that the Switch launch year was so good that the only thing that makes sense is that Reggie Fils-Aimé found a genie's lamp and cast a magic wish on it or something? Anyway, Super Mario Odyssey feels almost like a supercut of the best mechanics that have ever been in a 3D Mario game before. If there was a maneuver you liked in Galaxy or Sunshine or 64, they're pretty much all here. Platformers are all about introducing these different locomotion mechanics and utilizing them in every way imaginable, and in that regard, Super Mario Odyssey is nearly flawless. There's such a wide variety of ways to move around the world, which feels excellent, especially when combined with the bonkers level of density and discoverability of the game's vibrant worlds. There are moons absolutely everywhere, and the game's just constantly rewarding you for poking your nose into each nook and cranny of each world. And that process never gets punishing or overwhelming, and the post-game gives you so many opportunities to go back and fill in your collection. I am by no means a completionist, but I adored putting in the effort to 100% Super Mario Odyssey because it always felt worth it. Runner-up for my Game of the Year goes to PlayerUnkown's Battlegrounds, which, if you told me in 2016 was going to be a contender at all, I probably would have very rudely ignored you, because competitive shooters aren't really my thing, but PUBG has firmly established itself as a fairly undeniable crossover hit. I wasn't prepared for how much emergent storytelling could come out of each match. The desperate scrambles for survival, the thrilling car chases, the frantic land grabs over the game's most loot-rich drop zones, the final standoffs and their resulting victories or agonizing defeats. The Battle Royale model might not have been originated by PUBG, but it has been polished to an impeccable degree. Every aspect of the game's design is engineered to elicit those kinds of moments, and the occasional bug or unrepentant hacker aside, PUBG just delivers on them. And I'm really grateful for that, because I will genuinely never forget the first time I won a chicken dinner, or the second time, or the 20th time. I've gotten really good at PUBG, y'all. And of course, the game of the year is Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. So that wraps up my top 5. Yeah, I guess I could explain. I feel like I don't really need to, because, like, come on. Breath of the Wild is, like, a game that I just can't believe exists. It's such an enormous departure from a Zelda formula that has gone largely unchanged for decades, and it's a hugely successful departure, too. Everything that's changed, the emphasis on open world exploration, the experimentation with the game's super tactile combat and movement abilities, the at times super punishing difficulty that can only be overcome with clever resourcefulness, it all just works. And it's not just a competent open world game, it's an excellent open world game, one that fixes a lot of the issues that I've had with open world games over the past few years. It's also just so gorgeous. The environments and music and sound design feel ripped straight out of a Studio Ghibli movie. The story features these well-known series mainstays, but it uses them to present a story with a lot of emotional impact, which the Zelda series, which I adore, has never been that great at delivering. I don't think it's possible for the Switch to have had a better launch title. Breath of the Wild is so vast and so stuffed with fun and clever, rewarding things to do. The fact that you can take this huge world off your TV and bring it with you on the go is about as good a sales pitch as any piece of gaming hardware has ever claimed. But it's not just the best Switch game in a year full of pretty great Switch games. I'm fighting off recency bias when I say this, but every time I played The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was playing one of the best video games ever made. So there it is, my top 5, chock full of underdog stories and surprise picks, like The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. As always, if I missed one of your favorites or you disagree with one of my choices, I've prepared a special inbox where you can leave your comments to make sure that I will get to them. It's a toilet.